Hello everyone, welcome back. So yes, I'm doing another flint and steel video. I kind of wanted to put everything kind of into perspective. Whoa, tongue twister there. And kind of get it all in one. I have a bunch of different videos on like chert and then on making the steels, but I kind of wanted to get it all in one. And then I hope that I don't come across as being an expert in any of this, because I'm certainly not. What I am is a guy who sees something and then I just want to learn everything I can about it. And I practice and I do it until I feel like I could, do it with my eyes closed. So I hope I don't come across as a know-it-all or anything like that, because everything that I learned, I consider myself a learn-it-all, basically, is from watching other people, right? And that's how we do things. And then once I've learned something and get, pretty good at it, I even hesitate to use the term master it, but, when I get really good at something, I like to share my knowledge with people. So this is for all us old salty dogs, plus anybody who wants to get into it. It feels a little inhibited, and I can't make a striker, and I don't know what chert is, and I can't do that, and chalk cloth, and all. Basically, anybody could do this. Anybody, okay? So hopefully these little tips and tricks and things I explained today, help somebody. All right, so we got that out of the way. So first thing I want to talk about is your steel, okay? So here's an example. This is hand forged from a file by me, and this is in the Viking style, okay? You don't need this. You don't need a fancy hand forged striker at all, okay? If you're just getting into it and you want to play around, all you need is a file. And you don't need an expensive file. This happens to be a Nicholson, okay? Made in the USA. These are great files. You can make a knife out of this, you can make strikers out of this, but you don't need this. This is a very inexpensive Harbor Freight file, a couple bucks, okay? Now, yes, it's not made in the USA, but I've had great success using these files to make strikers. As you can see, this one's already busted off because I used that end to make a striker. And you can't see this end, but I used that end to make a striker. So just a couple tips if you're going to make your own striker, okay? The files are hardened, right? So for a striker to be good, because you're shaving metal off of the striker to produce the spark, not from the rock, okay, or chert or flint, it has to be hard, and it has to have a high carbon content, okay? Files are hard, and they have a high carbon content. If I took this file and I hit it right here really hard, it'll literally break in half, okay? So there's a tip for you on how to get a piece of file. Just boom, break it, okay? Or put it in a vise and hit it with a hammer, and it'll snap off, okay? Now, files on this end, the rat tail end, okay, are softer than this end. If you ever noticed and you saw a file that was bent, that's because they temper this, okay? Whoa, is that science stuff again? I love science. So basically tempering is you're bringing down the brittleness of it, okay? So they want this end not to be as hard as this end because they don't want this to snap off. So if you're making a striker out of this portion, like this portion up here, be aware that this isn't hard. Okay, so this if you strike a piece of flint with this part, you're not going to get a spark. Okay, unless you heat treated it, which is a whole nother thing. We'll leave that for another episode. Okay, so if you had a nice cheap file, break a piece off about 2-3 inches. Okay, and then grind the edges. Now this one happens to be grind, but not for a striker. It's because I didn't want the file cuts to be on this side for what I was using this for. Okay, but you have to grind off those teeth basically, get it nice and smooth. All right, you can use a grinder, you know, a regular tabletop grinder. You can use a belt sander. You can use an angle grinder, or you could just use a piece of rock and just keep rubbing it back and forth. And to show you, like this, again, I don't even have all the teeth very smooth, but I'll show you how just this, the way it is, works. And then we're going to start talking about chert and flint, okay? See the sparks come off of that? Just a piece of file. All right, so we got the steel. Now, to go with the steel, we need a piece of flint or chert, okay? Technically, flint is a type of chert, okay? But it's called flint and steel, so everyone kind of just says flint. A lot of people say chert. Either or is correct, okay? So we won't get hung up on that. And you can also use quartz. Basically, any type of stone that's harder than the steel, because you're actually shaving off pieces of the steel. That's what creates the spark. All right, so let's get a little bit more into the flint and chert. So here's a piece of English flint. All my brothers and sisters across the pond, you all are lucky because you can get this stuff. Back in the day, colonial times, this was the preferred flint to be used in flintlock rifles and whatnot, okay? Excellent, excellent stuff. Very dense, okay? Now, if you look at this, you'll see how very shiny, well, not so much shiny, but very smooth. It's like glass, okay? That's the kind of chert that I like. Well, here's some examples. This is a piece my brother Danny sent me from Tennessee. You see that smooth, very smooth. Now here's a piece of chert that I get in Florida. It's very hard, throws great, great sparks, but it's not smooth, okay? I find that the stuff that isn't smooth doesn't give you as sharp an edge. And you, whenever you see me do a flint and steel, I'm always like, get a good sharp edge, good sharp edge. And I'm always using tiny little pieces, because these tiny little pieces, they're almost like razor blades. That is an advantage and disadvantage. When it's very, very sharp and thin, you kind of don't have to have a perfect 45-degree angle. Okay, again, we're shaving off. So if you're a little bit off, the edge is so thin that it's going to throw a good spark, okay? But the disadvantage to that is it will chip off, okay? So I have this bunch of pieces of chert, okay? This is all from Florida except for that piece that I showed you that Danny gave me and this black piece. And you can see they're almost translucent where you can see through them. That's the good stuff. Now I have yet to find a big piece of this chert in Florida yet. These pieces actually came from landscaping at a strip mall. I had called the owner and said, hey, I collect some stones, blah, blah, blah. You mind if I take a couple handfuls? He's like, yeah, no problem. He kind of laughed. He was like, you want some of my stones? But you never know where you can find them. All right, so all these little pieces, these are like razor blades. Look at that. So you don't need a giant piece, but let me get reset up and I'm going to show you what to do if you do have a giant piece. All right, so now I found this. I don't know what kind of stone it is. I believe it's some kind of sedimentary rock. All right, it almost looks like a blue stone, but it's not. This stuff is very, very hard, okay? I'm going to guess it's indigenous to Florida, because I found it in the dirt in Florida, okay? And it was actually a much bigger piece. And it sort of breaks like a slate would break, that it came off, the other pieces came off in very uniform, thick pieces. They kind of just sliced off. But what I noticed about this is, if you look here, it's got a very crystalline structure. I don't know if you can see that. And it probably doesn't show up on camera, but there's little tiny specks of what look like diamonds, basically, right? Well, we know they're not diamonds, but they're probably quartz. So quartz is an alternative to chert. All of it, chert, flint, quartz, it's all a quartzite crystalline structures, basically, okay? So I want to show you that this piece here, if you look right here, hopefully that shows up, we got a 90-degree angle, okay? That's relatively sharp, but watch this. Just got a couple sparks in that last hit. You can sit here all day, okay? You'll get a piece of char to light up with this edge, but it's not ideal, all right? Now, if I flip this around and I look for a sharper edge, okay, now here's another edge. Now, if you look at that, that's less than 90 degrees, right? Much sharper. So if I take the same steel and I go there, still not getting anything. Very, very little, okay? So again, that's why I say thin, sharp pieces. So let's find some more. Okay, look at that one. That's very sharp. See the difference? And notice how they go up and over. Okay? So we know this rock throws sparks, but it's not in an ideal configuration, basically. Look, right here I have a very sharp piece. Watch this. All right, so now I'm going to show you how you take a big piece of rock like this and you make it work for you. So I have here what's considered a hammerstone, just a round river rock, okay? So now we're going to find an area. I'm going to say right there, okay? I'm going to take this hammerstone and I'm going to just hit it about 1/4 of an inch in. Ready? I got a little piece. That's not exactly what I wanted, but I got another one breaking off here. Okay. See that piece that broke off? Now this, not good. But if you look here, very sharp edge. You probably can't see it, but it's actually leaving a little groove in my finger. All right? So watch this. See that? Look at the amount of sparks coming off of that. And notice that they go up and over, right? That's what you want. So just one little blow with a hammerstone, and now I have a piece of basically chert that I can use to make fire with, right? So let's take another piece somewhere. Now, it's not going to work every single time. So we'll take this right here. Whoop, that went flying out there. Hey, look at that, little arrowhead. See? Look at that piece, huh? Again, you get that'll make a nice arrowhead. Sometimes you got to flip them over to get a better side. But you see how you get the sparks from it? Let's do it one more time. Let's get a good spot. Let's try this right here. Whoa. See, now this piece, I could probably get some sparks here, but I'm not going to even bother. But this is very blocky, square edges, so I wouldn't really use that one. And you can see here, you got a lot of that cortex stuff I was talking about. But you just work yourself around it. Now, again, stuff is going flying, but you get a little piece like that, and it's very, very sharp. That's all you need. So that's how you take a hammerstone, which is basically just a round river rock. Let me tell you where I got this one. I happened to be driving by, and there was a I guess for lack of a better term, a landscaping place. They basically sold, you know, rocks, big rocks, small rocks. They had big, giant bins of rocks. And I pulled in there, and I started talking to the guy, and I'm like, hey, did you ever hear of, you know, chert, blah, 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 blah? Because I actually went there to look for, see if there was a big piece of chert. Because it seemed like it was a lot of natural type rocks. So he actually said, yeah, I know what you're talking about. He goes, I like to look for, you know, Native American points. I'm like, sweet, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to make one. He's like, yeah, I never really ever saw any of that around. These are all blah, blah, blah kind of rocks. So we were standing next to this big, giant bin of rocks, and I reached in and I grabbed this and I said, hey, how much would you charge me for this? He goes, no, you can have that, man. He goes, just take it. I'm like, hey, sweet, thanks. That's where I got that. So again, you could find things in the most unlikely places if you look. All right, so I'd be remiss not to actually light a piece of chalk cloth. So we're going to use a piece that I just spalled off. That's called spalling, okay? And we'll get a little piece of chalk cloth lit up. And again, you could peruse my videos, and I have how to make chalk cloth, and a lot of this stuff I said is, you know, in those videos also. But what you want is, you want that chalk cloth to be right on the edge. Okay, you could even hang it over and then go like this. Now that makes sure it's all along the edge. And again, you don't need a giant piece, okay? Excuse me. And what you're looking for is, you want that cloth to be close to the edge, because the sparks are going to come over the top, okay? Then when you take your steel and you hit it, don't hit it up here, because now you only have that little bit of travel. You want to hit it pretty close down to the bottom. I mean, it's tough to get it to start from here, but you figure about 2/3 of the way, and you're going to keep pressure on it so it scrapes, okay? So here we go. See that? So again, excuse me, sharp chert, nice sharp edge, keep that cloth very, very close to the edge, and then you'll be able to get those one hits, okay? Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this, and if you're new at the flint and steel game, I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer them. And any of my brothers out there, my sisters out there that have any tips or suggestions for me, I'd appreciate that also. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you're all staying safe and having a great day. I appreciate you all, and thank you for coming along with this one, and we'll see you on the next one.